What would 12 years old you think of how you are now? Perhaps I'll be a sailor, and I'll sail the seas between. Perhaps I'll be a tailor making outfits for the queen. Perhaps I'll be a dancer, and I'll dance the night away. I'll find a cure for cancer. I'll write myself a play. Perhaps I'll be a writer, and I'll charge a writer's fee. The bravest firefighter that you'd ever hope to see. Perhaps I'll be a lawyer, and I'll rank amongst the best. I'll build the Star Destroyer. I'll conquer every test. Perhaps I'll be a lover, and I'll love my lovely life. I'll journey and discover with my lovely kids and wife. Perhaps I'll love tomorrow. He smiled and looked ahead. He softly sighed with sorrow. Or maybe not, he said. Was it hard when our first dog died? Yes, but he was with everyone. It was hard to watch. He had his 3 pups and their mom there too. But you'll also have a girl that'll make you feel better and loved. Do you get married to her? No, you do and say stupid things. So does she. It wasn't meant to be. But you'll have some of the best memories of your life with her. What is being in love like? It's scary and the most wonderful feeling at the same time. You don't ever want it to end, but sometimes you'll put up with being treated unfairly because you don't want it to end. Getting older doesn't sound fun. It's not, but you'll learn how strong you truly are and have been since I was your age. You'll learn that the world is as wonderfully magical like in our books. We went through all it, and we still keep going. And I promise you I won't ever give up on you. Can I have a hug? Sure buddy. In my case it was a vicious cycle that happened too slowly to realize what's at stake. On one hand she gradually stopped caring about my needs and wants. On the other I constantly tried pushing her boundaries just a little more. Just this time. Adding kids and responsibilities and ambitions versus limited time and energy. The dynamic seems easy to see in hindsight, now that it ruined our couple, but it definitely wasn't clear for either of us during the 3 years it took to turn her off forever, despite us trying to discuss the topic and find solutions whenever we could. To think that 6 years ago I told myself this could work. We have the same level of libido and the sex is great. Silly me. I remember reading comments on Reddit about people from rural areas. They'll grow up in a tiny town with maybe 100 people that hasn't changed in decades, wake up and do the same farm choring each day, and maybe once a year they would treat themselves and head to Olive Garden for dinner. Do that on repeat for 50 years. I just can't imagine having done so little in life. It freaks me out just thinking about it. It's funny how it works. Those people can't imagine not having stability or a clear plan of what to do the next day. They can't imagine living somewhere else. It brings horrific anxiety. But to be fair, they've not necessarily done so little, they're just not very flashy. Try pulling a calf out of a cow giving birth at 4 AM, so they don't both die and you get swarmed with wolves or coyotes. You won't go to bed that night thinking you've experienced nothing notable. I've done a lot of things. And you know what? It only matters to you if you want it to. No one else cares. To another person, whether you've been in a coma for 10 years or experienced everything, it's all the same. But then again, I'm not the storytelling type. I'm from a big city and moved to a tiny farm town to go to school. My dream is to just stay in the area, do really well at my job, make a good living, and be able to enjoy the area in my off time. I'm a really bad socializer, and I'm happiest exploring the woods with my dog. It's gorgeous out here. On paper I'm not doing a lot with my life, but I'm busy with something fun every day. It just might be renting a canoe on the lake for $10 for a couple hours, or exploring a creek with my pup. If you stuck me out here in my teens when nightlife and friends in the city were a big deal for me, I'd be miserable. But now I'm just happy and get to go to my hometown on my birthday for Red Lobster. See, not Olive Garden. 12-year-old me had no friends, was bullied, and hated everything in his life. He had fears of getting fat, dying alone, and spending his days hidden from the world. He would cry at how well we've wound up. Married, working as an engineer, with a home, a baby on the way, shitloads of close friends whom I love, and would do anything for, and the kids who used to bully me wound up exactly where they belonged. Who's that awesome dude right there? Awesome dude and few compare? Awesome dude with kids and wife. Awesome job and awesome life. Who's that awesome dude above? Awesome dude with luck and love. Awesome dude with things to do. Awesome friends in future too? Who's that awesome dude ahead? Awesome dude and life he's led? Who's that awesome dude I see? Who's that awesome? Oh. It's me. I'd be very impressed. I was overweight, depressed, basically friendless, and didn't know at the time, but being an adult now, it is very clear, some kind of attention disorder. Had horrible grades, because I just didn't care, parents didn't, so why should I? Wasn't into sports at the time either. I'm now in a successful position in a very successful company, with a great social life and an awesome little family. I just bought a house I'd never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be able to afford. I'm still about 20 pounds overweight, but my husband likes my curvy butt and chest, so I call that a win, I suppose. Don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of ups and downs, but overall, I'm doing alright for myself, which is something I'd never thought would be the case at 12. That's me too. Struggled with that my whole life, still do, but my mom ignores it. I struggled with my weight too. Now I'm healthy and happy. My life is pretty cool. I have a good job. I was always that weird kid obsessed with whatever band I was into, and I'm seeing my favorite band front row in a couple of weeks. 12-year-old me would probably think that was pretty awesome. Same. Always struggled with my weight. My friend group had just mean girl style dumped me. While I was out sick with jaundice, a new girl joined the group and turned everyone against me, and I felt so fat, stupid, alone. She would be so stoked that I achieved all my dreams, live in America, have 2 dogs, married to a handsome kind man, my parents are proud of me, live in a big beautiful house with roses in the front, have a fantastic wardrobe including ridiculously awesome costumes, successful at my job, chairperson on multiple boards, have a beautiful kid and lots of friends. I worked really hard for it all, and Lord knows there have been low times, but it all made me fight harder and come out stronger. I never became skinny or tall, but who cares? When life is so rich, this is what I wish to share with teenagers. When I hear of ones that are bullied or are feeling so low, there is so much in life to live, no reason to give up when you're just starting out. I'd be fucking disgusted and terrified. 12-year-old me had some really high goals. I'm legit sad now thinking about this. Well, he'd be stoked that I'm finally out of the closet and living with my partner of 3 years after being absolutely terrified of coming out as gay. He'd also be stoked that I'm finally sober after my younger self promised I'd never get addicted like my entire family before me. He'd be disappointed that I'm working a office job and sit in a cubicle all day, and be disappointed that I never finished my degree, but I think overall he'd be stoked that I'm happy. I think I'd be proud of me and happy about my progress. I grew up poor and remember thinking how cool it would be to work in an office like those people are living the life. And I always wanted to have that lifestyle where you could go to quaint little hole-in-the-wall restaurants and eat out all the time, cause you could afford it. Now I'm a manager in an office and I get chipotle on the regs. But I also have the money to try new restaurants all the time, so win-win. Hard to disappoint 12-year-old you when you had super low expectations. Honestly, 12-year-old me would be pretty proud. At that point in my life is when I started loving math, but for some reason, probably parental influence, the only thing I wanted to be when I grew up was a mom. Here I'm almost 20 years later, and I'm both a mom and a math major. I like to think we really made it. With 12 I wanted to be an Orthodox priest, was against smoking, against drinking, and sex would be only allowed after 8 months of relationship. Now with 18 I smoke, I drink, I practice the old Slavic ways, tried to drunkenly pee against Catholic, it's somehow always Catholic, churches, fucked the girlfriend of a friend, whoa, said it was okay, then right after it, I went smoking with him, and yeah, my 12-year-old me would hate me and beat me up with a Bible while saying prayers. 12-year-old me, what would she think of me now? She would be surprised that I made it, that I'm still here, that life is good and can be good. She would be taken aback that it is true, the life we imagined does happen. She would be emotional that we finally faced it. We finally took on those memories that we knew wasn't right, that we blocked, because when those memories would pop up back then, as well as years before it and years after, she wouldn't face them. She would be amazed to learn a whole other part of her mind recognized and dealt with the reality of what had happened to her, but her conscious being refused to acknowledge it. She would recognize that we always have more to learn, that the greatest fear is one of the unknown, and that she herself was creating this realm of unknown. That her brain went into survival mode to protect her, that it's an amazing thing, quite fascinating really, what our minds can do in order to survive, but ultimately, and often untimely, we are forced and we must face our fears or surrender to its control. At 12, she used to daydream, projecting herself into the future, where she was safe, imagining, to her at the time, of who she would be, where she would be, what she would become, and where she was going. She would be so relieved to know that she was here now, that she was safe. She would forgive herself, because now she realizes that she did the best she could, that she tried so hard, and in the end that grit, determination, and strength that seemed so distant to her at the time, pulled her through. She would have more insight and the ability to forgive herself with a greater understanding back then of all of her future self's bumps in the road. That 12-year-old knew things were bad, knew she had room to error, understood intuitively that mistakes would be made along the way because of how her past influenced her, but namely because she did not face her past with its muscle memory driving her through life as she knew it for many years. She would be most amazed of herself, because who she is now refers back to her then, to that raw strength that gave her the power to make it, to not give up, that always believed the sun came after the storm. She would be proud